Hey everyone, time for the Blade Show recap. It's been a week now, perhaps over a week, since Blade Show, and I've been trying to get my thoughts together on how the show went, perhaps versus different years. If you haven't been, again, I certainly recommend you try to go at least once. It is expensive to go depending on where you live, between airfare, hotel, food. If you buy anything, I mean, you can expect to spend a pretty decent amount of money. Obviously, anywhere from $500 to $1,000, just or more. Again, if you're coming from overseas, but it is an investment as far as a trip goes, and so that's something that you have to keep in mind. But if you do go again, for first year will be sensory overload. Second year, perhaps you'll be a bit more directional as far as what you're trying to acquire, if anything, or what you want to see. So the more years you go, the more specific you become in your game plan, which can be to the detriment of finding new makers. And that's something that I kind of seem to be struggling with, is when I go to these shows now, I'm there to see friends, I'm there to see my favorite makers, I'm there to give them money, and perhaps, not take what cash I bring and search out new people to throw money at. So it's something that I feel like I'm not doing a great job as far as a content creator. So I've got again, some of the Blade Show scores, and then some of the newer stuff, like the 523, the Liangma Fill Duty with the marbled carbon fiber. Anyways, just a little bit of eye candy. Hopefully I'll kind of pick some of this stuff up and show it to the camera here while I ramble. That way you're not staring at just a picture. So as far as Blade Show itself, I don't know if it's true, but I heard that Blade Show was sold to a different management company. I don't know if it's true or not, right? But there were a couple things that were quite different, or that I noticed that were different. One, their website was significantly better. I was able to go in and acquire a media pass without any trouble, whereas prior years, they just didn't offer me a media pass. There are certain requirements as far as, follower count, stuff like that. But anyways, so that was nice to be able to get a media pass, so that I'm not trying to hunt people down for other types of passes. So they also did, so the website was better. Getting a media pass was quite easy this year. They also did a really good job as far as social media coverage. The Blade Show Instagram, which I'll link down in the description box below, did a really good job of showing kind of what it's like to be at the show. Obviously, I was putting up a bunch of content, but they did some unique things too. Like they had the camera at the front doors when they opened the doors for the early bird people at 12 or 12:15 on Friday, and you just see all these dudes running in and trying to get to their first come, first served tables. I thought that was interesting. It's a good way to portray what it's like to be there, the energy, the excitement. A lot of guys who haven't run for a long time were definitely booking it for tables. So, hence probably the paramedics walking around the show. And that was something different too. They had actually paramedics wandering around the show. There was security. They had police officers. It just seemed a little bit more organized overall as far as a show goes. So that was pretty cool. Between the large room and the small room off to the side, I think they had more than like 1,000 tables or vendors, which is absolutely insane. Total traffic, to me, felt kind of the same as last year, but perhaps there were more people and I simply didn't notice. Again, I was kind of laser focused on, the people that I wanted to see and the videos that I was doing, so I didn't really take a good head count. But it was super busy last year. It felt really busy this year. So perhaps more people, but I think there were like 10,000 people last year. So probably the same this year. One other thing that I thought was really, really cool that I ended up liking, and it kind of surprised me, was the Balisong competition that they host at Blade Show each year now. And it was, the MC Master of Ceremony was Ben from Blade HQ, who you guys all know. And I wasn't even there at the Bally Comp. I watched the Blade HQ's live stream later that night when I was sitting in my hotel room with my feet up, just chilling. And it was wildly entertaining. They had these bouts of 10-second battles between the the guys competing in the ballet competition, and it was like an elimination match. And I thought it was really well done. I thought it was entertaining to watch. People were talking shit in the comments. I mean, it was like a full-fledged like live sports event almost. So I thought that was quite interesting. I thought they did just a really good job as far as the format and the competition. And I don't know if like Blade HQ is going to upload like a really nice edited version of that later. Obviously the live stream stuff like on Instagram is a little bit rough as far as quality goes, or if perhaps one of the other companies will be uploading. But if there is one that's uploaded, I'll also link that in the description box below. And I would recommend you guys go kind of take a look at it and watch it too. Let me know what you think. Again, if someone puts up a good video, and I watched the whole thing front to back. Again, I was just super impressed and entertained, and it was really cool. So kudos to them. Along those lines, as far as the knives at the show, certainly front flippers and kind of balisongs seem to be the new hot. I mean, even Rick Hinderer is releasing a balisong, which is something that I never saw coming. The Custom Knife Factory 523 was certainly a Blade Show favorite for the guys who went to handle these. The Philippe Georget customs were outstanding. And along those lines, there were a couple kind of new makers that perhaps new to me, maybe not new to you guys, but some of the new makers that I thought that did a fantastic job. And some of these you guys will probably know of, but Cultratech, their stuff keeps getting better and better, but their prices are, like over 2K. Table prices now, I'm not going to say it's not worth it, but they're very, very, very nice pieces. I don't have a Cultratech. Obviously, Shirogorov always brings they do a good job of bringing something new and interesting to Blade Show every year. Like they always have at least one thing that's outstanding, whether it's a new custom division or a new model. So again, they always bring their A game. We've already talked about Philippe Georget. One new French maker, and I didn't buy any of his pieces, but they're starting to pop up on social media now, is David Lespect. Eugene Kwan, I think he got one from him. There were some floating around dealers, but French maker brought some really cool front flippers. Cozy Steenkamp, South Africa, he also had some really cool front flippers. Trevor Berger from South Africa had some really nice front flippers as well. So those were kind of the three new people on my radar: David Lespect, Cozy Steenkamp, and Trevor Berger. And again, I'll try to put links at least to Instagrams down in the description box below if you guys are trying to figure out who the hell are these people, where do I find more info. Koenig Knives, I don't have my Arius in front of me, but Koenig Knives brought some really cool Arius models that had some really cool inlays, and I'm going to get a new Arius at some point in time, but they did a really good job, again, continuing to improve upon the Arius model. This was one that I was very excited about from Clyde Challoner, his new Viper model. Again, an exceptional piece. I think he had a bit of a slowdown moving shops. He had some other things going on, but he's getting back into the groove of things now, so you guys will probably see more of these start to filter out as he works through his book orders. Custom Knife Factory, again, we already talked about this, but this model, really, really, really good. Yeah, just really exceptional. So really look forward to the smaller version of this at the end of the year. I feel like it's gonna be kind of a fist fight to get the smaller version come December, because everyone's gonna know about it. And as I already mentioned, I feel kind of bad not tracking down some of those newer makers. Again, Eugene Kwan on Instagram, I think he got one from all three of those new makers that I liked, and I got to handle his pieces. Prices were really good, fit and finish was outstanding, so go look at some of his videos for some of his Blade Show stuff. But I just kept going back to the same people, seeing my friends, seeing the same makers, giving the same people money again and again and again. And if I, as a content creator, I'm not going to call myself a reviewer, I should be looking for new things, interesting things. So perhaps as I get through a huge backlog of videos, I'm going to try to focus on bringing you guys some more of the new and the interesting makers to follow, books to get on, get in with buy pieces before they go nuts on secondary. I did have multiple people tell me that they thought I was done with YouTube, and I slowed down for a couple months. You guys abandoned ship, so I apologize for that. That's multiple people told me they thought I was done, but my voice is going. You'll have to forgive me. I've got a drink right here. But those of you guys who did come up to me and did say hi and did thank me for creating content, doing videos, again, I can't express my thanks enough. Sometimes it's hard to know whether or not to keep going. So I appreciate you guys. And as a last kind of interesting note, one thing that kind of came up was some makers are complaining that auction prices were down across the board. And that's kind of an interesting notion that some of the big bidders weren't participating. And I have a couple theories on that. I don't know if they're right, so these are just theories. But a lot of the really big bidders are coming from overseas. China, Russia, perhaps some other European companies. But those are the guys who are sending proxies out with just bags of money to acquire certain pieces. Sure, Gorov's customs are always a favorite. The Barkers and the Michael Raymonds and some of those pieces. And so makers were mentioning, I'm not going to say complaining, but mentioning the auction prices were down. If it is from the foreign buyers, I'm sure that some of the social, political, economics are having perhaps some sway in that. Tariff wars, things like that. It can make even those with deep pockets get a little bit nervous about, spending their assets. So I don't know. That's my guess. Is a lot of the overseas buyers weren't really coming out to play for Blade Show. But to be honest, there's auctions that happen on Instagram and on Facebook groups. I mean, all the time. So if they didn't show up for one event, perhaps they'll simply be at other ones throughout the year, or perhaps less visible events where they're not having to compete with so many people. But who knows? It really doesn't matter one way or another, but it is an interesting concept to think about is, what's the health of the market? What are people buying? How much are they actually spending? And obviously we are in, this is a luxury market. Nothing in front of me is a necessity. So they say, right? So that's what my psychiatrist says. So anyways, nothing really major from the large manufacturers. Spyderco always has their prototype booth, but it's up against the wall, and at most you can get 2 people deep, and people will stand there for an hour just trying to handle all the prototypes. So after standing off to the side for about 15 minutes waiting to try to get in, I left. There wasn't anything that I could see from the peripheral there that I had to get my hands on, so that's fine. ZT had the much controversial 223, the Tim Gallion design. That was nice. I handled it. I had no problems with the one that I handled, but again, the internet is a crazy place. So yeah, next show coming up, the next big show is obviously going to be the USN show. There's the California Custom Knife Show and Friday Night Blade Affair that are coming up. As of right now, I'm probably not going to those shows. I have a lot of other stuff going on, but I hope that you guys can go. You can find all the local shows: Blade Show West, California Custom, USN show in Vegas, Blade Show in Atlanta. I think there's still some New York-ish shows, so if you can get out, it's the opportunity to handle a little bit of everything saves you years of purchases. It's kind of like a crash course in what you like and what you don't. So that is that's always recommended. So anyways, that is my ramble. I had some other major snafus with airlines. We got switched to 3 different planes on the flight out there from Phoenix, and then our flight back got canceled, all due to mechanical issues. A flight attendant came into work today and she told me that the mechanic union is on strike, and so they're not clearing planes to take off from the runway, and that's why we kept having so many problems and being switched. So strikes are ugly business, especially when you lose, with all the delays, probably 16 hours just because of canceled flights and switch planes. So not fun, but it is what it is. You know, there's really nothing that I can do. So anyways, hopefully none of you guys are getting screwed on that stuff. But anyways, that's kind of my Blade Show recap. It was most definitely a ramble. There may not have been anything useful, and I'm sure most people clicked off at about 5 minutes. But a little bit of eye candy here before we check out. More videos to come, obviously. Lots of videos that need to happen.